What's going on, you guys? Riley here. Today we are reviewing this 2020 Mercedes-Benz AMG C63 Coupe. Now this is going to be definitely a fun review because this is a car that I'm actually considering purchasing, and I have been considering purchasing for well over a year now. These things have I don't know, they tug at my heart. Every time I'm around them, every time I get on Auto Trader or Cars.com, I start looking at, what I could buy that's a good value. Every time I do that, these pop up and I'm like, man, they really are a great, bang for your buck when you're looking for something that's luxurious, has good performance, good looks, fun to drive, sounds good. It kind of checks all the boxes. So today, this is my first time driving the coupe version. I've driven the sedan. That was a while ago and it was kind of a quick drive. So today I'm gonna actually spend some time behind the wheel in this car, let you guys know what I really think about it. Is it something that I would seriously consider buying? And is it overall worth the money that these things cost? And speaking of price, that is a great point to start off with. So brand new, most of these cars cost somewhere between $70,000 to $90,000, somewhere in that range. Just kind of depends on what options that particular car has. However, on the used market, you can find some that are this body style, all the way down, creeping below $40,000. And I know this because I was on Cars.com last night checking what was available, and there's some very close to me that are in very good condition, relatively low miles, for right about $40,000. And I'm like, man, that's a really good bargain. Now this particular car is a 2020, so the big difference is between a 2020 versus a 16 or 17 is the front grille up here is going to look a little bit different. Also, there's some interior refresh stuff happening in there, so we'll talk about that when we get to the inside. Personally, for me, I think why I like the C63s so much, obviously they're a really good bang for the buck, but I really just love the way they look. Whether it's a coupe, a sedan, I actually like the way the convertibles look as well, but they just look very aggressive, but also at the same time very elegant, and it's just kind of that raw AMG feeling. It's got a twin turbo V8. Now the car is a little bit on the heavy side at around 4,100 pounds, but it does make a respectable 469 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. Now Mercedes claims that's good enough for 0 to 60s of like 3.8 seconds, which is definitely quick, and in a car that looks this good, how could you not pass that up? So now that you guys have a little bit of background on the C63, let's go ahead and talk about some of the practical aspects of this car. We'll start off here at the rear of the vehicle. We'll go ahead and talk about the trunk here, which is actually a very good amount of trunk space back here. It goes in relatively deep, which I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but a good amount of space, and I've always thought it was cool that they just have the little button and then the trunk closes for you. This particular car also has the AMG Sport exhaust, so I'll show an exhaust clip of that now. Definitely one of my favorite sounding European cars. Absolutely love the way these things sound, and also when you start getting into the aftermarket on these cars and doing a tune, downpipes, muffler deletes, all that stuff, they sound absolutely ridiculous. The turbo noises this car makes, it's just all kinds of goodness. Now before I spoil you guys with my favorite part about these cars, which is going to be the interior, let's go ahead and talk about what's under the hood. So this is where your twin turbo, actually bi-turbo V8 is. I always have a hard time saying bi-turbo. I'm so used to saying twin turbo because I'm a dumb American. However, here's your bi-turbo V8, like I said earlier, just under 500 horsepower and torque. If you go for the C63S model, they just basically changed the tuning with the car a little bit. It's the same engine, same turbos, but they make a little bit more horsepower. I think it's just over 500. But I've always thought this 4-liter bi-turbo engine looks really cool underneath the hood here, and just kind of looks simple, yet a lot of stuff going on here. Also, they are hand built in Germany. So shout out to the builder of this one. I think you did a good job. It hasn't blown up yet, so that's always a plus. And now I will go ahead and spoil you guys with the interior of this car. Definitely my favorite place about these AMG models. And this one has my two favorite options, actually three favorite options. So it has the upgraded steering wheel, which is the newer one that AMG is using. It has the all digital dash or gauge cluster up there, and this one also has the 64 different color ambient lighting around the vehicle, so at night it looks like this, which personally, how could you pass that up? That looks so good. So we'll go ahead and switch over to a GoPro now, which has a lot wider lens than this camera does, and we'll show off some of the cool features on the interior of the C63 AMG. All right, so switching over to GoPro view now, here is the key on the AMG C63. Actually a very nice key. The only feature it does not have on said key would be remote start. You have that on an app for your cell phone, so you can remote start your car from your phone, just not the key. So kind of interesting. But here's the interior like we just saw. First, I want to start this off by talking about the back seat. So check out this little feature. You just kind of recline it up to the front and it finishes the rest of the job for you. So kind of nice. Here is your back seat. Already has the little hooks there for a car seat, ultimate dad wagon. You got some cup holders. Now let's go ahead. We'll sit in here, see what it's like. Okay, well, not the most comfortable. Let's pull this back. Let's go ahead and lose my leg room here. Okay, well, I'm definitely in here and I'm not coming out. So it's not the most comfortable. You don't really have much room back here. It does work. So if you're gonna have people sitting in the back seat a lot, go with the sedan. But it does work in a pinch. If you absolutely need to go, point A to point B with 3 or 4 people, it can be done. Okay, now we'll sit somewhere where we don't have to lose our legs, and that will be the front seat. So, like I said earlier, all digital gauge cluster, one of my favorite features, and the new AMG steering wheel, which basically this side controls this screen here, this side controls that screen there. So very, very nice interior. I like the way it's kind of the darker wood. I like this interior and also the carbon fiber. Don't really care for the brown that's in a few of them. But overall, just a very nice interior. You have your different settings for traction control, suspension, exhaust, all kinds of fun stuff there. If we open this guy up here, you got 2 cup holders, a 12-volt center console. I mean, the rest is pretty self-explanatory. So let's go ahead and start this thing up and we'll see what it sounds like. Okay, so I said earlier this car has 3 features I absolutely love, which was the steering wheel, gauge cluster, and the ambient lighting, which here you can actually see in the daytime. You can change that to 64 different colors. Actually, there's 4 features I love about this interior. The optional Burmeister sound system. I think it's a 19 speaker sound system, which from what I hear is amazing. I'm about to turn it on right after I finish this clip here and blast some music, but love the way these interiors look. The super comfortable seats. I mean, just everything about this car is comfort, but also sportiness. The all digital gauge cluster up here, you can configure different ways. You can make it show different stuff here in the center. This one's got a boost gauge and horsepower and torque readout. On the steering wheel, you've got the exhaust button here to open the exhaust valves. You can click it. That'll change the transmission settings, the auto stop start, suspension, traction control. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do there, as well as on this side you can go from comfort, sport to sport plus. So now the exhaust valves are open. Let's see if we can hear them from in here. That's so sick. I love these things. And then of course on this screen here, kind of all your modern stuff, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, I mean all your basic stuff. It's actually pretty easy to navigate through here. I was just in a BMW last week, which was a little bit on the more challenging side. This one's pretty simple. If you want to learn about your vehicle, you hit vehicle. And then there's all kinds of stuff that you can change in here. Those lights I was telling you about earlier. So we're gonna hit lights, ambient light, and check out all these different colors. I mean, you can pick literally whatever you want, and you can change the brightness, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can set up exactly how you like in this car. And that's personally one of my favorite things about cars, is being able to customize them. And of course it does have the panoramic sunroof up here, which you can completely open, and yeah, how could you not like that? This thing is so sweet. Alright, you guys, well, let's go ahead and take out the C63 for a little spin. Now, full disclaimer here, I have driven the sedan version of this car. I drove the C63S sedan, so this time I'm doing kind of the opposite. I'm doing a regular C63. I say regular, like it's a regular car. So this one is the regular C63, and this one is a coupe. So I want to see, this is my ideal filming location where all my driving roads are. This is where I get to take it down some great corners, see how it handles, see if you really feel 4,100 pounds in the corners. Also, we can test out some launch controls and all the stuff in my typical environment The last one I drove, I was kind of out of element and had to drive relatively normal with like 3 people in the car. But today we get to put a little bit more seat time in this car, and like I said, we'll see if I really want to buy one of these. And you might be asking, Riley, why do you want to possibly buy one of these? I just think it's kind of the ultimate blend of comfort and sportiness and everything else. So we're starting this video off in comfort mode, which is where most people would daily drive it. Just gonna kind of cruise for a little while, and I'll give you guys some updated impressions here in a minute. So first thing I will say about comfort mode is that yes, it feels like a comfortable Mercedes. I mean, this is, when you think of Mercedes, that's comfort mode. So 10 out of 10 for comfort. I'm very comfortable sitting there in the seat. I wish this one had the ventilated seats. It seems like some of them have it, some of them don't. I don't really know why they all don't have it for 70 grand, such is life. But the steering wheel, by far, one of my favorite steering wheels in any car. I love the way at the flat bottom, it has really nice perforated grips here on the sides, kind of the center line down the middle. Just very, you know, sporty feeling, has all kinds of buttons on it. It's a little overwhelming at first, but once you actually, you know, play with everything, it's very convenient that you can change the radio station and do all kinds of stuff with the right side of the steering wheel, and it, you know, keeps you focused on driving as opposed to messing around with the screen over there. Also, one of the things I just noticed about this car has a heads-up display. So just like in the Corvettes and the Camaros, it displays your speed right there in front of you, so you don't really have to look down. So a very nice feature as well. Now, I know you didn't click on this video to watch me drive around in comfort mode the entire time. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and bump it into sport mode. We'll go into Sport Plus here in a little bit. But what sport mode does, holds the RPMs up higher a little bit longer, stiffens the suspension, exhaust gets a little bit louder. I mean, everything becomes a little bit more sporty, and you definitely notice it. I know I'm in 7th gear right now as opposed to 9. So this is a 9-speed. They call it like a speed shift transmission. It's basically a dual clutch, just Mercedes has their own fancy name for it. But the transmission is great. So if I just lightly get on it here, went from 7 to 5th really quickly, the power comes on, there's not much turbo lag, it's very, very performance oriented. And that's the thing with these turbo cars, is that can completely just kill the car if you step on it and there's just lag. Okay, finally we're going. To me, that's kind of the #1 thing that kills cars for me. I noticed that a lot when I drove the Audi RS5. Lots of turbo lag in that car. This one, it's really not, you know, evident that it's there. In fact, we will take this corner here and we'll get on it just a little bit from a slower speed. I mean, you can tell that it's a turbo car in the way the power gets delivered, but it doesn't have any lag about it. It just kind of is more of a build-up than it is like a nothing's going on at all. But now with one lovely click of the steering wheel, we go into Sport Plus mode. This is the hardcore race version, race mode, and we will just step on it and see how it does. That transmission's really good. The exhaust sounds great. It pulls strong. It's a turbo car, yes, exactly what I said a minute ago. There's not much lag, it's just more of a buildup in this car. And it's very, very quick with the shifts. The speed shift, or whatever they call it, is very, very quick. And the whole entire car just immediately comes to life. We're gonna drop the paddle shifters there. That was immediate. Yeah, this is way better than the M2 I drove last week. Holy crap, this is like a night and day difference. Not even close. Sorry to the BMW people out there that like the M2, but this is way better. That transmission is really, really good. I hate to compare it to the new Corvette because I'm a hardcore Chevy fanboy, as everyone likes to say. But it's just as good as the dual clutch is on the new Corvette. I mean, dual clutches are the future. And to find a really good one, just like this one, it's awesome. Now, you know, Sport Plus, it's something that I thought might be a little bit overkill. Sometimes when you put their car in their maximum performance setting, it's like, okay, this is a little kind of gimmicky, a little bit too harsh. Actually, it's not bad in this car. It's something that you could drive around in Sport Plus every day and actually get away with it. A lot of cars, once you go to their max setting, it's like, okay, I don't want to spend much time here unless I'm on a racetrack. This one, however, it's still relatively just drivable. So before we continue on with the rest of this video, we are going to go try out launch control, try a couple other things. I'm going to change this camera view where we can now speak with the owner of this car, who's a guy that I met back when I was in college, and we had a mutual bond over Scat Pack, Charger, and Challengers. So we'll get into that here in a minute. But ladies and gentlemen, this is my buddy, Taylor. All right, guys, so this is Taylor.
How's it going, everybody?
We met what, about 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I had a Scat Pack Charger. He had a Scat Pack Challenger. We met at car meets, and there we are today driving his C63 AMG, and he was kind enough to basically hand me the keys and say, yeah, have fun, do whatever you want with it. And I was like, no, come along with me. I want you to be in the video and talk about what it's like to own this car, coming from, you know, American muscle now to European muscle. So he's stuck with me along for the ride, and we get to finally go in the corners with nobody ahead of us. So this is gonna be great. Taylor, what is it like owning this car compared to your Scat Pack?
You know, coming to this car, it was like such a big difference between, they're the same car and they're completely different. The Scat Pack
Sorry.
is crazy. It throws your head back. It's, you know, a visceral experience. This feels like the same car, just a different version of it. This car is so refined.
A nicer version.
Yes, just a more luxury version of the same car.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it feels kind of the same thing in the corners and like on launches and on pulls, but, you know, it's a German engineering car, and the interior and the looks of it are second to none.
Okay, well, I can see here going through your trip meters, you've averaged 17 miles per gallon since you bought the car.
And that's pretty good. That's on like highway trips to College Station and then back home. Yeah.
Okay, so
that's in addition to me driving around and just.
So it's not the most fuel efficient car, but who cares? You don't buy this car for that anyways. But I see here you got just over 3,500 miles on it. I know you obviously love the car. What are some things you dislike about the car? Because that's what everybody likes to hear is some complaints.
So the thing that I dislike about the car, mainly for me, is the not having a remote start on the Cape. That's especially coming from the Scat Pack. You know, I would hit 2 buttons and the car would just fire right up and everything. But for this, I use the app and it takes, you know, 30 seconds for the signal to get to the car to turn on.
That big of a delay.
Yeah. And so, and then like when you walk up to the car, as soon as the car unlocks, it cuts itself. So it's not
really, so it doesn't just stay on.
Yeah. And so it's basically essentially just for warming up the car on like a cold day. Or cooling it down on a hot day. That's all it's for.
Okay.
And so then that, and then the other one thing is the gear shift. The gear shift is on the steering column, and I would prefer to have I would prefer to have it here. You know, so
it's like a truck. Like when you put it into gear.
I feel like sometimes when I'm cruising, you know, and I have one hand on top, I don't have anywhere to put my right hand except for
your knee. There's not much going on here.
So,
okay.
But that's
it?
That's it. Those are the only two.
Hey, man.
And those are small.
Yeah, if those are your only complaints, that means it's a solid car.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go second gear. Second gear from 40, is that a good one? Let's see. I love the transmission. Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
That is really, really good. Now, I know on the 19th and 20s, the exhaust is a little bit different than the 16th and 17th, correct?
Yeah.
So the exhaust on the older ones was a little bit more hardcore. It has more pops and crackles.
Pops and crackles from the factory.
Dude, that transmission's really quick.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a really good transmission. That's one of the highlights of this car for sure. I would say it's very comparable to a Scat Pack in terms of speed. It's probably a little bit faster, I would guess.
Yeah, it definitely is faster. You know, looking at all the numbers and everything, but it's so refined that you kind of floor it and everything, and it's like, oh, this is.
Dude, yeah, it's quick.
This is good. It's quick and everything, and you look down and you're going 120, and you're just like, oh, I didn't know it was going that fast.
Yeah, that's plenty of power. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to have more, which, if you want more, it's very easy to do in these cars. So you were telling me earlier, a tune, downpipes, and blow-off valves.
From Rentec.
Okay.
It'll put out 611 horsepower and 672 torque.
And how much would that cost approximately to do?
About $3,000.
So $3,000 to get an extra 100 horsepower.
Yeah. Because all they do is just tune the turbos.
Okay.
And you know, and that's it. And then they make sure everything doesn't blow up. And
that helps.
And here you go. Here's your 600 horsepower car.
Yeah, I mean, that's super easy. And I know for me, like when I think of European modifications, I'm like, oh, that's going to get expensive quickly. But 3 grand is not bad for 100 horsepower. That's right on par with what it would take to get another 100 horsepower out of a ZL1, for example. You're gonna have to do headers and a tune and pulleys. And I mean, you're gonna be looking at least 3 grand. So really not bad. Okay, real quick, let's try launch control. Traction control is like, no. Yeah. Oh, that shift is aggressive. Dang, this thing's fast. We said it perfectly earlier, like kind of cliche. It's European muscle, but that's what it is. It's like a American muscle car, just a lot nicer on the inside. Handles really, really good. It really does. I know it has a little bit of body roll. It's a little bit taller, and it's still a big coupe. It's not like a Corvette, for example. You sit a little bit higher. Good visibility out the back is great. I mean, visibility is actually one of this car's strong points. It's comfortable, it looks nice, sounds good. I mean, it kind of checks off all the boxes. So if you're in the market for something that's a little bit nicer than some of the American things out there, Challenger, Camaro, Mustang, then I would look at these, especially on the used market. They're coming down in price. Check them out. I can 100% guarantee I would not be buying a M2 when you park it next to this, or an M4 for that matter. They're pretty similar. Audi has some really good stuff that they're coming out with. Mercedes is absolutely killing it. BMW, you need to catch up a little bit. So in summary, would RP buy one of these? Absolutely, 100%. If I had a baby tomorrow and I needed 4 doors, probably be buying one of these like tomorrow. They really are that good. They're comfortable. I want to go drive something like the 16s and 17s with the different exhaust and see how that compares to this, because the last one I drove was I think a 19, so very similar to this. I want to drive one with less options and kind of the older body style, so to speak, see how that compares. But as far as this one goes, this is great. I absolutely love it. So go give Taylor a follow over on Instagram. I will put his Instagram name like right in here somewhere. So go give him a follow. I'm gonna force him to start posting a lot more content with this car, because it needs to be shown to the world. This thing is sick. I love this thing. Like I said, 10 out of 10. RP completely recommends. I know I've already done a C63 review in the past. It was a sedan, a little bit different. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And like I said, if you're in the market for something like this, go check them out in person. I know videos only do them so much justice, but go see one in person. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I'm spot on or if I'm way off. Maybe you think BMW is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
No, you're spot on.
Taylor thinks I'm spot on. Taylor loves this car. That's good to hear. There's not really many complaints coming from him, at least. So yeah, let me know if you guys are opposed to a AMG model coming to the channel somewhat soon. But thank you guys for watching this video. We will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.
I keep waking up.
You're gonna cost me a lot of money, Taylor. I should not have driven this car today.